Mr. Garvin, Michael Garvin, is the former technology transfer specialist for the University of Iowa, where he designed entrepreneurial studies courses. He has developed 7 startup companies in the state of Iowa, Wisconsin, and Texas. True to both definitions of a paradigm shift specialist, Garvin has spent the last 20 years helping to effect changes in complex systems in the economy. Garvin lives with his wife, Bonnie, and their teenage twin daughters in North Liberty, Iowa. He will be unveiling the Global Energy Abundance and Sustainability Plan 2050, a strategy to align all energy sources to combat carbon release and curb energy poverty worldwide. He'll actually be maybe traveling overseas here in the next few months to present a presentation similar to this one you're seeing today. So please welcome Mr. Michael Garvin.
Well, thank you so much for that warm welcome. And I want to thank Jennifer and all the people, Leon, everyone involved in this conference. It's just been a spectacular experience for myself and my wife, Bonnie, who's part of this effort through our efforts with the Illinois Institute of Technology and the University of Iowa and our company, the GENAS group. So thank you so much. I think they deserve a hand. You've done a great job. And I want to thank all the speakers today. Every speaker set a foundation for my presentation, and I just can't thank them enough. From Sarah to Bob, Leon, the whole group, Jennifer, of course, because every time they'd say something, I go, well, I can just pick up on that. And one of the things I'd like to pick up on right away is the addiction theme that Leon brought up on how do you deal with addictions, and certainly not just the United States, but because I'm going to expand. We've talked a lot about the United States and what we can do with our environmental problems and carbon release, but I'm going to focus on a global stage. And certainly the global stage, if anything, has more of a connection and dependency on fossil fuels in the United States. And they're taking different routes to curb that. But I think about fossil fuels in a kind of a comical way. I love Woody Allen, and he made a movie back years and years ago. Now I'm dating myself along with Leon. Annie Hall. It was an Academy Award winner, and there was a line at the end of that movie that I just love, and it reminds me of our relationship with fossil fuels. A guy goes into the psychiatrist and says, "Listen, I've got a problem. My brother thinks he's a chicken." And the psychiatrist says, "Well, why don't you bring him in? I'll see if I can cure him." He said, "No, I can't do that because I need the eggs." Well, it's a lot like that. We all need the eggs. We want reliable energy at a low cost, but now we're asking, my golly, can we do it without carbon release? And I think I've got some very, very good news for you in that regard today. We're going to be talking, in fact, actually this will be the unveiling here at Graceland University of a plan. It's called the Global Energy Abundance and Sustainability Plan, or the GENAS plan. The GENAS plan is developed over, I think, probably years and years of research and collaboration and global effort through networks that I know abroad and here in the United States, university-based, association-based, with coal, with wind, with solar, not so much natural gas, and I'll address that in a little bit, but hydrogen and hydraulic fuel cell, and I'm connected with the Consortium of Fuel Cell Research through the Department of Energy. We see about everything there is through the Galvin Center, the REACH program at the Galvin Center for Electricity Innovation at Illinois Institute of Technology. And REACH stands for Renewable Energy Applications for Conserving Humanity. So why, in all logical thinking, would the American Coal Council ask me to present a special presentation at their August annual symposium in Park City, Utah? We'll get into that. One thing I do, and Leon again touched on it, if we're going to solve this problem of global climate concerns and air pollution, whether it's here in Las Vegas or Chicago or Beijing, we have no luxury to call names. We have no luxury to really create a loggerhead between any energy group. We just don't have that time. We don't have that luxury. So I avoid talking about myself as being an environmentalist or pro-renewable energy, even though my company, Bonnie's and my company, is named Renewable Energy Network for Aggregated and Integrative Services. And I work for a major program called Renewable Energy Applications for Conserving Humanity. But I don't have that much. Even though I know the tremendous things that we've heard about all day with solar and wind, and all kinds of different things. I neither have the luxury of saying I'm pro-fossil fuels, even though I'm welcome into most of the fossil fuel headquarters. I work with Peabody Energy out of St. Louis and the American Coal Council and the World Coal Association and China, the groups there, where 80% of the energy is derived from coal. I am basically a citizen of planet Earth, working hard to form alliances with any and all who are willing to solve the problem of energy poverty and climate issues, atmospheric issues. That's all I am. I don't want to cause any rifts, conflicts, or battles. I just want to solve a problem. The only thing I call myself is I am a facilitator of paradigm shift. And that just goes so well with the name of this conference, Changing Paradigms. So, when I talk about breaking through the climate impasse to a real energy paradigm shift for sustainability for people and planet, I am dead serious about that. I've talked to you about who I am, what I do, but we've got to get the same goal. I don't care if you're in fossil fuels or wind or solar or whatever you're involved in. The goal is to ensure sustainability for all peoples and our planet. This is the greatest challenge I think that has ever faced humans in all of history. Our goal is to balance the need of eradicating global energy poverty. And we haven't talked about that much today because we've been talking about the United States, and we do not generally have energy poverty here. But folks, I'm here to tell you that 70% of the 7 billion people on Earth do face inadequate energy sources or no energy sources. And I think if you take a look at the encyclical from Pope Francis, he talks about that there is a difference between South and North hemispheres, because it's just that simple. And we're going to be seeing some very sobering statistics along that area. Ending the devastation of energy poverty. This is an Ebola clinic in Sierra Leone. Behind me sits a system that will change the world for African nations, I believe. It's a little 2-kilowatt unit that's solar, supported by lithium batteries, that can provide one critical aspect, and that is energy to power vaccine refrigeration. 80% of the people who died during the Ebola clinic or the Ebola outbreak in Western Africa were not getting vaccine because they could not store the vaccine because there was no electricity, for heaven's sakes. This unit is manufactured in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. It took us a year and a half to find it. And now we're negotiating with the Sierra Leone government to provide energy to the family of this man who died because he did not have energy. Energy is the source of everything. Food, because you can get irrigation. Education, because you've got lighting and computer access and telephone access. Building, well-being, and I can document it all up and down the street. When you've got good, reliable energy, you've got standard of living. So devastation of energy poverty, and the United Nations, and this will be discussed at the COP21 summit in Paris, we've got to address energy poverty. We cannot no longer afford just to talk about climate issues and atmospheric issues. We've got to talk about the number one thing in the encyclical is the unfairness and the social justice issues about not having energy to those people, as we heard from Sarah, those people we should be caring for. So ending the devastation of energy poverty is critical. And look at it. 3.6 billion people have no or only partial access to electricity. Look at the size of these numbers. This is in millions of people. Millions of people have no electricity. It's in yellow. Look at all of that. And Pope Francis is right. Most of that is in the southern part of the world, not in Europe and not in the United States and North America. Absolutely not. Then the second challenge, and this is the most difficult thing and the thing that keeps me up at night, how do we balance eradicating energy poverty with combating air pollution for health in the environment? This is the Beijing streak. And it does look like that. We've had teams over there where they had to come home early because they were developing lung problems as concerned about lung cancers. So these are the issues. Simple as this. I'm a Midwest person, originally from Nebraska, lived in Wisconsin, Missouri, now in Iowa. We have a very great gift here in the Midwest. Look at things as simply as possible and then get her done. Figure out a way and get her. Don't talk about it anymore. Let's just do it. But to balance energy poverty eradication and combating air and atmospheric problems, really, really critical. Really, really critical. Now, I have some good news for you. We can do this, but it also includes climate change. And we've talked a lot today about climate change and the seriousness for our food sources, our living conditions, rising ocean levels. We do have a problem here, but it's all linked with release of carbon. And I'm going to be talking a lot about, if you're going to villainize something, villainize carbon. Not any one energy source, just can we not take carbon out? I mean, think about it. If you people were in the 60s and 70s, we used to have lead in paint. We used to have lead in gasoline. Now, we didn't close Sherwin-Williams down or ask for their demise or Mobil. We simply rolled up our sleeves and got the lead out. Literally and figuratively. I think we've got to stop pointing fingers and laying blame and just get to work and getting the carbon out. That is one of the things I'd like you to take away today. We need to get the carbon out. Lessons learned, and this has been said time and time again. When we were facing days after Pearl Harbor in the 1940s, we had 3 technology sets to develop. Simple as that. Everybody knew it from the Pentagon down to the grunt soldier. We needed to identify technology sets for aircraft carriers, long-range bombers, and high-speed armored tanks, and we did that. By 1943, we were developing and putting these out by the thousands, and it won the war. It helped win the war. We know the energy technologies that we need to respond to the energy poverty, environmental sustainability. Chris, we know that. I can list 5, and I have in my articles. And most of the people I work with know those 5. Now, would I ask for the government's efforts to this level? Yes, I would love the government's level to this, that we stop making cars for 3 years and just make this equipment. Will it happen? Probably not. But we should have that sort of urgency if we're really going to combat this. Here's the thing, and this is the paradigm shift that we're looking at. But we've got to adjust our observation. If we're just talking about the United States, a lot of the things that we're talking about today, yes, we can do it. We get wind, we can get solar, we can get different technologies. But we're not facing that, and this is not a United States-driven solution. It can't be. Because look at it. We only produce this much carbon. Look at China. Look at India and Asia right in there. Those are the big growth factors. China is driving the solution for this. Now the good news is, President Ping just announced that there's going to be a cap and trade on carbon program in 2017. That's huge. The fact that he and the White House signed an agreement to curb carbon last winter, that's huge. Now let's see what happens in Paris, but it looks very likely that the tandem of China and the United States is going to drive over 100 signatories of this agreement. Not a treaty. You know why? Because you'd have to take it through Congress. It's not going to involve a treaty on this side of the pond. No way. So, China drives everything that we're doing with carbon and climate. So we have to have a realistic approach to that. If we're going to have a realistic approach, we've got to understand that China wants to solve this problem as much as we do. They have protests because of air quality. Now they're getting the upper strand of successful Chinese family having kids come up with asthma or lung conditions. That's not going to spend. We work with China a lot, and they're as interested in solving this problem as any. But they're between a rock and a hard place because coal, which is 80% of their energy source, has been the reason they've pulled hundreds of millions of people out of poverty. Hundreds of millions of people. And they're moving west into the provinces, getting more and more. So President Ping does not have an enviable position because they've got to put 200 new coal-fired power plants online in the next 5 years. Everything we do to curb carbon is going to be more than offset by those 200 power plants. Then you add another 150 in India, forget it. We have very little say in climate and atmospheric conditions. It's China and India. Guess what? Who is the most technologically savvy country in the world? It's the United States. And China's begging for technology to help them out. Even Pope Francis said, listen, with your research centers, and this was his address to Congress, with your research center, I pray, get the technologies to solve this problem that I mentioned in my encyclical. So, we think we have the five, and they're in varying levels of development. Now let me tell you something about paradigm shifts and getting beyond the climate and energy poverty impasse. Like I said, we don't use emotionally charged language. It's not us against them, it's us with them. It's us with them, whether it's coal or natural gas or whatever it might be. They're not the culprits. They're just trying to continue the coal's long history of helping us win 2 world wars, bringing electrification to the Midwest. When I was born, we did not have electricity in our farm. By the time I was 4, we did. By the time I was 18, I was going to a school in Omaha. By the time I was 20, I was at St. Louis University. You know the reason why that was happening? Because my folks had the wherewithal to do that because they could better themselves. And many of us have that kind of story. We need everyone and every energy source engaged in this problem. Fuel, fossil fuel, wind, solar, energy efficiency, hydrogen, energy storage, wave energy I'll talk about later, and hydraulic fuel cells. All of these technologies, everything we've heard about today, from Tom and from others, we need to look and do the, and this is going to shock some of you, technological due diligence is easy. We do that all the time. It's the financial analysis of everything. Because I think Tom had mentioned also, financing rules everything. I start with financing before I'm sure if the technology works. Because I'm not going to mess with it if the numbers don't work. Because the investors won't mess with it. So, whether it's wind, ocean thermal, coal, I would say compliant coal. I never use the word clean coal, but compliant coal. Coal that's in compliant with what we're going to see come out of Paris. Ocean currents, fuel cells, solar, hydrogen, all of these things need to come into play. Now, rule 2, that every major global problem, you will find some level of inefficiency. Why is it that in a coal-fired power plant, it's only 35% efficient? 70% goes up the stack of carbon. That's the energy source. Can't they use it more efficiently? I'm a very simple guy. Use it more efficiently, clean up the situation. Now we're seeing technologies that actually do that. We need to eliminate the inefficiencies if we're going to solve the atmospheric pollution problem. This plan comes out of years of discussion with groups like Al Gore's Climate Reality Project, actually just involved with them this year, the World Coal Association, American Coal Association, major utilities, global university energy research centers, like the one at Illinois Institute of Technology, leading financial analysis universities such as the University of Iowa, which has the second rated by Financial Times, second rated finance academy in the world, next only to London School of Economics. Not many people know that, but I'm facilities director for projects there. Wall Street investors, people in Iowa that have billions of dollars. Why aren't they putting into this? Because we haven't made a strong enough argument for that. Solar industry, small and large wind industry, hydrogen industry, fuel cell industry, and of course the Department of Energy and global government agencies in China and India and Australia. This is my world. This is the network that I communicate with all the time. And I only do two things: technology due diligence and financial analysis. And then Katie barred the door. If those both come in strong, we got a winner. Okay, we talked about paradigm shift facilitator. This isn't my first rodeo. My first rodeo was back in 78, 79. Well, I started in 84 to 97, and it had to do with air quality. I was working at the University of Wisconsin, and then people came to me and said, we're finding cancer clusters around hospitals. What do you think that's all about? Well, it might be about, the light blue, you see, 5,237 hospital-based incinerators that had no pollution equipment on them. And we said, that's a problem. So, here was a real learning experience. I went to the American Hospital Association. Said, this is a problem. I said, no, it isn't. Why? Well, because it costs too much to retrofit those. Yeah, people are dying. No, they're not. I said, just a second, they're dying. No, they move closer to hospitals so they get better treatment. Time out. So 2 years of research to find out zip codes for these people. Nobody was moving next to hospitals. It was the lead, cadmium, zinc, mercury that was coming out of the stack that was an open burn. So I basically went to Houston. I don't know if Bob's still here, but Houston's a place that controls a lot of life, especially in energy. But it controlled waste. Waste management was there, and grounding affairs was there at the same time. I went in when I was 27, 28. I said, excuse me, board of directors, but couldn't we do something about this? I said, no, we can't do it. I said, what if I gave you a financial picture where you can increase your profits and the hospital can decrease their costs? So 6 months later, I came back with a plan, finance driven, and they bought it. And what we achieved was this. We shut down all of those incinerators in 13 years and left 23 permitted, completely equipped with air quality capture equipment, and our skies, our air was much better off. Paradigm shift. And it was driven by financial arguments. That was the key. Second paradigm shift, because of the success there, I joined from the University of Wisconsin, University of Iowa, University of Virginia. Actually, the University of Virginia won the MacArthur Genius Award in 2002 for this work. My work was to develop the technologies to help the healthcare industry not see their healthcare workers die because of accidental needle sticks stemming from AIDS patients. We were losing about 200 medical professionals a year because of accidental needle sticks. So I went to chief administrators all over the country, and the big response was, why aren't they more careful? Why aren't they more careful? Now this seems really prehistoric, doesn't it? But back then, I would go down to an Italian delicatessen in Madison and get pickle barrels that were about this big and bring them up and put them in surgery areas so that those big epidural needles could go in there because they were going in normal trash back in '87. All needles were going in normal trash. And we tried the ethical argument, the moral argument, whatever you wanted. Nobody would go 2 steps further to put a contaminated syringe into a needle box disposal. They'll throw it in the trash. Why is it that 70% of those who died from accidental needle sticks were housekeepers? Why is that? Why is that? Still gives me But we corrected the problem, and today you cannot go into a bathroom in an airport or a hospital or a whatever. You've got needle boxes all over the place. Sage products should give me a check every year, but they don't. Because we started Sage in Crystal Lakes, Illinois, to solve this problem, and they did solve it. And then I worked with Becton Dickinson and Johnson Medical, and we did design after design after design on safety devices. I give plasma, donate plasma every week. They're using the same devices we created in 1992, and because they work. Drivers and paradigm shifts. Let me just share some stuff. Without vast amount of money, ethical and moral arguments are not good drivers for paradigm shift. Not good drivers. I can talk blue in my face, and someone will say, oh, yeah, but it costs more. I can't do that. Now, if I figure out a financial analysis that saves or makes some money, oh my golly, they're the greenest people in the world. They're the most ethical people in the world. They're the most moral people in the world. Now, it's got to follow the money. It's got to follow the money. Government support incentives can only do so much. Receiving solar tax credits drop from 30 to 10. Watch things drop off. Unless we can get to parity with, and we're almost there as Tom had mentioned. Enlightened self-interest is almost always a need for financial argument